Oh, my goodness. It was not recorded. So I should start once again.
No. If you start that long ago, yeah. But
no, I did not start.
We're gonna share the.
So I'm sweating now.
Participants, invite.
Yes.
Copy the link. Did you run?
We are in a Pasha.
Oh, Tehora, I think.
Tehora.
After Tazria, not Tehora.
Yeah, very good. So you're not ready together. Yeah.
What?
Pashat.
Because it's a leap year, it's not together.
Oh, okay. Do we remember where Shimon ended with this halakha?
I think he just did the introduction.
Okay.
No, we.
Okay, very good. So you sent it the link?
Yeah.
Oh, Baruch Hashem.
Do you write anything?
Yes, please. The word olam. Corinne, welcome again, once again, to our limud.
Is correct.
Yes. To our limud. Wanted to wish you Shavua Tov and Chodesh Tov. We are in the month of Nisan, the month in which the nation of Israel was sent out from Mitzrayim. There is some opinion that it was not the house of Yaakov was not called the nation of Israel until they received the Torah at Sinai. They merited to be called the nation of Israel. Be as it may, let's continue with the halachot according to Ben Shchai. The Pasha is Taharot, purity. Purity, it's both. I wanted to believe that it's both physical and spiritual. We continue where I left off the other time, last week. Halakha number 10. One may wash one's hand only from a vessel. It is not permitted to wash one's hand with the water poured from somebody else's hand. Neither may one wash one hand from a vessel and then pour water from that hand onto the other. Let's take information and we'll explain, best of Hashem. Although some authority permit washing one hand from a vessel and the other from the washed hand, a full revi'it of water is used. One should adopt the more stringent rule and not to use this method under any circumstances. What is being said here is you cannot perform any netilas yadayim from the water being held by somebody's hand or from one's hand. Okay, there we have got welcome Rebbe Ravi?
Now you can talk when you have this, the second notification. Now you can hear.
Okay, good.
Now you can say
Hello, shalom, shalom, Rabbi. I believe your Shabbat was good. Your Shabbat was good.
Toda Rabbi. Yeah, good.
We are on halachot. The halachot that deals with netilas yadayim.
Yes. Yes, Rabbi.
It says here that when you perform netilas yadayim, you cannot take water from somebody's hand in order to do netilas yadayim.
Okay.
It should be from the vessel. And also, you cannot perform netilas yadayim like assume that this is my vessel, all right, where the water is. So I cannot perform netilas yadayim like I'm taking the water from the vessel to my hand, but rather I should pour the vessel. I should pour the waters from the vessel to my hand. So this is the basic of halakha. Halakha number 11, one of the requisites of a vessel is that it must be freestanding and not attached to any ground or to a building. The vessel must be like, this is a freestanding, all right, like this cup. It's a freestanding, it's not attached to anything else. So, and it's not attached to the ground. If a vessel is attached to the ground, it is considered part of it, like a pool. In other words, you cannot also perform it from the implication of this halakha by giving a scenario of a pool is that you cannot perform netilas yadayim in a pool. And the washing with water in the vessel is considered immersion. And the washing with water in a vessel is considered immersion. You are immersing yourself, not washing. It's not considered as washing at all. Rabbi Pinchas just ended his limud on nida. We know that the halakha requires our women after nida to go for mikveh. It's not only our women, but the purpose of the intention, the kavanot of netilas yadayim. I'm not the netilas yadayim. Going to the mikveh for women is not similar to as men going to the mikveh. It's not the same intention. So we go to the mikveh, but in those mikveh, it's not where we are allowed or permitted to perform netilas yadayim. Because the mikveh, you are immersing yourself, you are going under the water. It's not that you take the water to your hand. Halakha continues. However, since immersion may not take place in water which has been drawn from its source, it is not a proper immersion either. However, if the vessel is not attached to the ground, some authority permit immersions one's hand in it. As, in their opinion, it does not matter whether one washes one's hand from a vessel or in a vessel. Nevertheless, other authority forbid washing in a vessel. Therefore, if one does not have a vessel from which to pour the water, one may rely on more lenient opinion and wash in a vessel. But one should not recite the Shem in the bracha. You cannot mention Hashem's name whenever you recite the bracha, although one should have it in mind You should just have that kavanah in mind, meaning you must have the Shem in a mind, even if you are not permitted to mention it in the bracha. And one should also wrap one's hand in a cloth to eat. We have dealt with that aspect last week. Halakha number 12, and we will end it there because of time. If one does not have a vessel to wash from, one may immerse one's hand in a river. What is the difference? Or in a mikveh, as long as it contains 40 gallot, I think it's 40 gallot. And it is suitable for the ritual immersion of women. Our mikvehs have got a specification, and those specifications, they are not just at random. Our Chazal did not just decide this measurement randomly. They've got a purpose. Okay, may not be the subject of today, but based on Hashem, I will attach a little bit of this idea in the main limud today. All in a spring, even though it contains less than 40 gallons, I think, sim of water, as long as one can immerse one's entire hand at once. The difference between a river and a pool is obvious. The river flows, whereas the pool, the water stands. When washing one's hand in a river, it is only permissible to immerse them in a big rivers which flow from the mountains. As such, the Tigris and Euphrates in Baidad and Amana, Barada in the Papad river in Damascus. These are the name of rivers that we find them in our Tanakh. It is permissible to immerse one's hand in irrigation ditches, which farmers dig to water their field. Should I accept them? Not should I accept them, but should I to accept them, Nachon? I did. Welcome, welcome. I can't see your name. Oh, well, welcome, Rabbi Binyamin. The halakha, that passage, you are allowed to perform netilas yadayim in a ditch that the farmers dig to hold the water. What is the difference between between the pool and the ditch? The ditch, the water sinks, but not in the pool. Even though an irrigation ditch may hold more than 40 cm, being long and shallow, even though the water flows from distance from the pool, which is filled by hand from the river or well, before reaching the ditch, it may not be used, as water in these ditches is never stationed. It's not stationary. Ma? Metzora? Ah, wow. Okay, never mind. Never mind, because we did not finish this halakha. Yeah, we did not finish the halachot on this parsha. Sorry. No, it's okay. It's okay. I know that we are on the process of Metzora. I know. Halakha continues. However, if one blocks the ditch so that 40 cm of water stand still in one place, one may immerse one's hand in that part of the ditch. One should not immerse one's hand in a pool while it is being filled from a river or well. Even if some water pours back into the well from the bucket, at the same time as water pours from the bucket into the pool, and the pool and the wells are connected. Even so, some authority consider this a valid connection between the water in the pool and that in the well. Nevertheless, other authorities do not permit it, and the lenient opinion should not be relied upon. The last section of Halakha number 12. One may immerse one's hand in pools, in the irrigation canals, if they contain 40 seams of water. However, one should be careful to immerse one's hand deeper than the level of the bottom of the ditch, feeding the pool and the flowing from it, as the water above that level is considered part of the canal. That is flowing water, which may not be used for immersion. It is also important to ensure that the pool holds the 40 cm of water, excluding the water considered part of the canal. I wanted to leave or to assume that this explanation of Halakha are straightforward at a very face value level for most of our students who are in a conversion process. And also for our Bashuva, because they are also struggling to come back to the fold, just like those who are in a conversion. We have learned here in Botsina Kadisha through our masters, or not through our masters, through our Rabbi Pinchas, and of course he's my master, who learned also from his master that the souls of the Gerim and those of the Bashuva are rooted in one place. As to what that place is, it's not a subject for now, but B'ezrat Hashem, we will explain. For those who want to know, you can send us questions. B'ezrat Hashem, we will continue to give information as passed to us by our masters. My dear friends, we are now going to our usual letter, the letter of Ramban. The letter of Ramban, as I always start to saying, the letter of Ramban is a letter of moral and ethics. It's a letter of emunah. For you and I to enable us to navigate this world. What is the word world in Hebrew? The word world in Hebrew is olam. So you can say olam It's spelled Ayin. You remember last week we dealt extensively on this letter, I. Vav, Lamed, Mem Shofit, all Mem. And the best of Hashem, we will explain, we will learn about this word and the individual letters. Last week, although we did not finish our portion of yesterday, of last week. I believe you did not get rid of the pages that were sent in the group. Let's go. I wanted to recap on what we have dealt with last week. Last week, we dealt with section 10. A section that seems to give us an advice. And he's not trying, he's giving us advice. That as soon as after we give a serious attention or a serious thought to these ideas, you will stand in a war or in a fear of Hashem. What are these ideas we have learned through time? Is the idea of you and I could inculcate in our daily life. The idea of humility, the idea of speaking gently and calm, and be calm in a life, in the midst of what appears to be the opposite of good. And again, as they say in the world, anything that you qualify is just in the eyes of the beholder. Because it's not only what you think is good. And there is not only what you think is bad is truly bad. Why? Because everything is in the hand of one and one only. A Jew is taught whenever he wakes up, whenever he goes to sleep, to recite Shema, Shema Israel, Hashem Eloheinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. The word Shema, which ends also with the same letter we have dealt last week, letter I, is not only to hear, but to hear with a purpose. What is that purpose? It means also to understand. To understand what? That there is only one God, not multiples. So we have learned that once you acquire these ideas, after having given them a serious thought, you will come to the level of fearing Hashem. It's one of the things that we have dealt with. Today, we continue. No. I beg your pardon. Not only, I beg your pardon. Not last week. Yes, but last week we touched much more what we have learned the previous week before last week. But last week itself, we have learned the midot, which Ramban calls them as fine qualities. And one of those qualities we have dealt extensively is the midot called anava, humility. And we have dealt with poverty. Ramban, not Ramban, Ben Shchai in Halachot that we have just dealt a few minutes ago, talks about Netilas Yadayim. In the last week, we dealt with the idea or the concept of poor, a person who is poor. That a person should be satisfied with his portion in this life. Because if you are not happy with your portion, you are sending a message also that you are not happy with what God is running his world. This is not your world, it's not my world. It's his world. We are just inhabitants of this world. Rabbi Pinchas taught us in Masechet Avodah Zarah. He said, when you shed tears because of what you are experiencing in this life, it is as if you have, in fact, it's Avodah Zarah. Because you are saying you are not happy with what? With the portion you were, or the portion allotted to you. For those who are following our limudim, you do remember that. So we have learned a few minutes ago about Netilas Yadayim. And we know the word, the letter Ayin that we have dealt in our previous limud. If you spell out, meaning the letter Ayin, the milui of it, the spelling out, the expanding of it, if you rearrange the letters, meaning rearranging the letters of Ayin, like Ayin, Nun, Yud, it spells the word Ani. But last week, we have learned that the word Ani is an acronym. Al Netilas Yadayim. The Netilas Yadayim that is, or that we learn in Halachot, according to Ben Shchai. That this is not only the physical, hygiene, it's not the purpose. Our sages have gone farther than that. Is they are being directed by the divine. It's about also spiritual. Much more, it's a spiritual before the before the physical. We have dealt with that last week. Now, what I wanted actually to also to add last week is the word Sameach. how do I write the word sameach? Is sin, in this case is sin, mem, het. This is my chidush. The gematria value of if I take sorry, one of our students said could not see the board last week. Besot Hashem, I will explain this word, particularly this letter, before these two words, or two letters, not two words, but two letters. The word happy, happy in English, in Hebrew is sameach. Sameach is happy. But when I look at, when I separate the first letter, the initial letter of the word sameach, and I concentrate on the last two letters, the gematria value is 48. And the 48 is alluding to many things, or it hints to many things. And one of those two things that it hints to, one of them is Ham. It's my chidush. Why did I choose to use the word to concentrate on the gematria 48 that is hinting to Ham? It's because it's not because I was born there. It's because also I happen to know many cultures in that great continent. A people who have been denigrated, colonized, beaten up, discredited. And to a certain extent, when you look at so many nations, I remember the constitution of the country of my birth. There is an article about toxic waste. When you look at that continent, most of unwanted materials are dumped in that continent. Many. But when you look at the people of that continent, not only that they are accommodated, they are always happy. When you look at amidst of all these calamities, wars and all those things, they are always happy. Sameach, happy. So it should be, Ramban is telling us that we must be happy. Like, for example, in Botsina Kadisha here, both as an institution and as individuals, we are being called by all sorts of names. Called all sorts of names, but we are just laughing. We are happy with our portions. Now, where am I driving this to? let's go to our board. I've got only 20 minutes before I sign off. Let's go to our board. No, before we get to our board, our portion today, sorry. Our portion today is number 12, and it reads as follows in Hebrew. וכאשר תתענג במידת הענווה, להתבושש מכל אדם ולהתפחד ממנו. What does it really mean? Let's look at the translation. When your actions display genuine humility, when you stand meekly before men and fearfully before God. When your action, I got this from my Rosh Yeshiva Rabbi Pinchas. Once upon a time he said, do not withdraw yourself from the limud. Be closer to your rabbi. Not only to see him talking through online like I'm speaking online, but you must see him in his daily actions, how he does things, the way he speaks, the entire body language, with the way he speaks to people, the way he speaks to. Ramban here is talking about humility must not only be seen in a thought. We know that there is a faking thought. Faking humility. We know that. And you can only know that if you are closer to the Torah. What do I mean you are close to the Torah? Is it possible to become closer to the Torah? Yes. Your rabbi is a Torah, living Torah. You must learn from your rabbi. Yes, so we know the craziness in the world. Yes, we know those craziness in the world. Humility. Ramban wants us to show, to have that in our actions. And it says, before men. Before men. When you stand meekly before men. You know, there is this thing called humility according to the definition of the philosophers. You know, apparently, you are like now, yes, oh yes. This what Ramban is saying here is that speak calmly. The way he started it, speak it to all men gently. Not because you know me and you know my background. When I give this teaching to you, sometimes, you know, people said, who is he to tell me? It's not about that. There is always change, and that, as they say in a ulam, they said change is the only permanent thing in this world. So with that in mind, let me give the commentary on the pasuk that we have, not a pasuk, on the passage that we have just read. Rabbi Nason Tzivi Finkel, known as the author of Shilabodika, constantly emphasized that all men are precious for they are made in the image of God. When one showers others with kindness and respect, he does also honors God himself. The first solution recorded in the altar spiritual diary was to try to be extremely careful of my fellow men's honor, with patience, with a soft answer, never once to get excited to find ways daily, at the very least, weekly, of benefiting my friends. The commentary here, under the heading honoring God and honoring others. Somewhere in the pre-care voice. This is an idea in the pre-care voice. Even if you have got a student does not mean necessarily, even your children are your students. Your children are your students. Your siblings are your students.
Your students are your children.
Yeah.
Your students are your siblings.
Particularly those who are coming after you. Yes. I wanted to broaden that a bit, to give a hint on that. Yes, that's why the Africans are suffering. We are suffering because of the mistakes of our siblings. I wanted to leave it there. That's what I shall one day. So, my dear friend, let's go to, I have indicated that our theme today, under humility, we want to talk about this word. This word, olam, in Hebrew, olam, in English is the world. Let's play a bit with the gematria of these letters. The shoresh of this word, in Hebrew, as you know, some of you may know. In Hebrew language, every Hebrew word, more or less, many, starts with three letters called the building block. And the Hebrew word can be manipulated either at the beginning or at the end. Now, the shortest of this word called olam is alam, three letters. You remember, we have dealt extensively with the letter ayin, right? The milui of that ayin is ayin, right? But the letter itself, the gematria value is 70. We saw that last week. What about the other last two letters? The other two last letters, their gematria value is also 70. The same gematria value of the letter itself. And again, when you look at when you look at 100 together is 140, right? But if I bring the valve back, meaning before bringing the valve back, if I take this 140, then I have got kuf mem. Now, if I bring the valve back and put it in the middle of the two letters, then I have got the word kum. What is the word kum? In Hebrew, the word kum is to get up. Is to get up. Now, what is this getting up is all about? My dear friend, we know from last week's limud, we have learned that the word I, if you rearrange the letter, is also netilas yadayim. We have also learned that in our previous limudim that no, it was last week, that the ribui or liboa, the ribua of this letter, all right, the ribua of this letter, it spells out. Oh, the ribua of this letter, maybe I should get this ayin. 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 Here we have got 100. Did I get it right? Where's my calculator? 70, 10, 70, 10, and 50, which is equal to 140, 150, 120, 120, 120. We have got a mathematician here. Ready? The libua of the word of this letter ayin. Okay, ayin is 70, 70, and 10. Yud 10, 70, 10, and nun 50. Is equal to what? 290.
90. Look, 70 plus 70, 140, plus 10, 150, plus 70, 230, plus 10, 240, plus 5, 290, plus 50, okay. 290.
290. Okay. Well, we will continue. We will take up. We will take up from. We will take up from there. But the no. Wait. It's 290, right?
Yeah.
290. No. Wait. Wait a second. 140. No. 140. Okay. Okay. Besot Hashem. But okay, we dealt with this, but I wanted to rectify something on a gematria value of the libua. Huh? Yeah, I think it's 280. because it's par. I remember.
This. Eh, 20.
Yes. Well, Baruch Hashem.
Sir, I'm
My-
not kidding you.
My Rosh Yeshiva came to save me. So we have learned last week that the same letter, par is 280, which is, this number reminds us the gematria value of the final letters called Mantzpach. Only 5 letters in Hebrew. And this represents Maim Nukvim, meaning the feminine water. And this reminds us or hints to 70 kings. Now, let's go to the word Olam. We know that we have dealt with that because last week we have learned that a letter before Ayin is Samer. When you spell out that, they spell out the letter, that letter, the Libua, using the same format, it gives us the same 280, right? And these 2 letters, they are not only problematic, like one of my rabbis said, the letter Samech is kind of a trap letter. The gematria value is the same, using the same formula, is the same, 280. Now, and we also mentioned about counting Omer. We have started with the month of Nisan. What are we doing between Nisan and the Shavuot? We are fixing the 70 kings. Now, the word Olam, after I have removed Vav, all right, I have got Ayin, which is 70 itself. And the two last letters is also 70.
Sure. It's hot.
No. So it's also 70. So in other words, like I have learned last week from my Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Pinchas, it's only when you fix the midot, you are able to deal with the 70 kings. What do I mean by 70 kings? Because we have learned last week that every state, 70 kings contain 10 Sefirot within itself, right? Now, if we have got 10 Sefirot, 10 Sefirot within one Sefirot, 10 times 7 is 70. In other words, you remember, I've got only 2 minutes. Remember, there were only 70 nations. The 70 nations from Noah. And the nations that are on the planet Earth, they are all rooted from those 70 nations. And you remember, Yaakov, when he went into Mitzrayim, how many souls did he went with? 70. So in other words, like I said last week, if you and I are failing to come to terms and to inculcate this midot mentioned by Rambam in his letter, then we will be under the rulers of these 70 kings. My dear friend, I wanted to end with this one. We did not finish it, but you have got an idea. So the word Olam is not just Hebrew language. I encourage my listeners. Do not occupy yourself with many things in your Torah study. Learn Torah on the same time. Learn Hebrew to the best of your ability, because Hebrew words are not just words like created randomly. Like I happen to say this statement that I have learned from Rabbi Pinchas. Sometime to some people I spend the Shabbat with, and I said, do not tell me what the Torah word is saying. Tell me how those words were built. Because if you cannot tell me what those words mean, I do not understand what you are saying. I give a last example. Like, for example, you have got a word amar. Aleph, mem, resh. In a conversational Hebrew, amar is saying, I'm saying. But what if it does not really say what it appears? Because I can say, Aleph stands for fire. And I can say, Mem, it stands for mine. And I can say, Resh stands for Rakia. What if I say that? So it's just an example. I'm not saying he's saying so, but I'm saying learn Hebrew as much as you can, just like I do, to the best of my ability, in order to understand. It makes me, learning Hebrew to the best of my ability, makes me to appreciate my Torah study, my Torah learning at a very, very, very higher level than come on. Thank you very much, Chaverin, for having given me a space to learn with you, to share with you. B'ezrat Hashem, we shall meet tomorrow with our learning. Toda rabba, Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen. Fini, נכון?